gonna really be straddling your thigh here. Hope that's okay. What's Jeremy saying?
Jeremy says, I have literally everything for next week. Lights, another mic, etc.
Okay.
Macs aren't known for great webcams.
Jeremy, what a guy, man.
The guy,
What a man, guy.
producer Jeremy.
Salutations, Jonesing for Sports fans. It's your boys, Cody, Travis, and Brandon, back at you with another episode of Jonesing for Sports. Today, we're going to be coming at you with some mailbag questions. We're also going to be discussing Michigan football's recent quarterbacks coach hire, and Travis is going to be telling us why he hates Jett Howard both as a player and as a person. So, we'll get all into that action. I was doing well until that point. Let's get into that sweet goodness.
That was a little harsh, but
No lies detected.
I'm fine with digging in there, so if I need to, I need to.
I wasn't
We'll go
sure
there.
if I'd get pushback on that or not, but I thought it'd be fun just to kind of stir the fire a little bit.
Yeah, you got pushback.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Getting started, I thought it would be fun. I don't know why.
Well, you mind if I say something first?
yeah, that's fine. I didn't want to say anything anyways.
Well, before we really get into the meat of it, we're live for the first time ever.
Yeah, that
and
is actually a good disclaimer to put out there.
you can see our faces for the first time ever.
I'm so sorry.
I need to brush more.
Yeah, look at these pearly
I'm gonna
whites.
put that on the lighting. I don't think they usually look that brown.
Brown?
You know,
Oh, they
yellow.
look fine.
Yeah. I do brush
Yeah, you brown toother.
occasionally.
He's got Captain
No,
Barbosa.
I brush a lot. That's important to me.
But I don't know if we're going to go live all the time. So if you're one that's watching this, thank you. This is a good little test for us. This is our first ever time going live or using video. So we're hopeful that through this new software we're using, we may be posting video to our YouTube page. So we're really excited about that. And we're going to try and keep that same natural energy. Like we know we're going to be able to edit things out if we say something sketchy or cancelable. Because it happens, and we usually leave it in, but sometimes this puts a little more pressure on us, I think. But
So
we're ready for it.
Be chill and don't clip this stuff. Whenever you do find something that is extremely sus, we'll cancel ourselves. We got that under control. We usually come a little bit out of left field with something kind of insensitive, but yeah, really exciting stuff. And so we do have a YouTube now, yeah.
We have a YouTube. It's not pretty yet, but it exists, and that's the most important part of getting this thing started. Is the existing part.
So
and then we'll beautify it.
This really is kind of phase one of a Jonesing for Sports kind of rebrand a little bit in a sense, because up till this point we have just been a podcast, and for 2023 it's sort of our goal to really take over all the medias. We're going to be producing all these digital content, all the medias, maybe put a song out there. Who knows? Sky's the limit.
Kojo Flow.
Oh yeah. Gonna be laying. Yeah, we won't lean into that. But
along those lines, Brandon, were you thinking about doing kind of another pod with one of our favorite, as feels dirty to say, Buckeyes, Cody Thomas?
Yeah, so when we first had Cody Thomas on the pod, he had texted me multiple times afterwards, like, we got to do that again. That was so fun. And it got to the point where he was like, you know what? Screw it. Me and you, let's podcast. And so we are hoping to do a Jonesing for Sports affiliate podcast. Basically, a Wolverine fan and a Buckeye fan, just chopping it up, talking college football year round. So Jonesing for Sports, we like to cover it all, but this podcast is going to be college football specific. So that should be dropping our first episode in the next week or two. We don't have a name yet, so if you have any suggestions, let us know, because it's really hard to find a name that would accurately describe what we are. I mean, how do you put a Wolverine and a Buckeye together?
Frenemies.
Even one frenemies.
That's it. First try.
Well, if you have a title
Football
for our podcast,
frenemies.
They're friends.
Wow, you did that so fast. Football frenemies might be the one, Trav. If you can beat football frenemies, drop a comment on this or in Discord or wherever you can find us on Twitter. Text us, send us a carrier pigeon. Let us know, because we're open for ideas. I'll let Travis instantly knocked out everything I had thought of in the past like month or two. So that's impressive. That is why you ask other people, folks.
I was joking at first, but then you put football in front of frenemies, and that completely changed the entire outlook of that name. That really does work.
Brandon, I'm really excited about that. You and Cody Thomas, sorry, Cody, other Cody, you with all Codys just have great chemistry. And the the frenemy energy you have with that Buckeye is fantastic. That will turn into one of my favorite podcasts.
Well, you know, the thing that I'm a little curious or maybe nervous about, in college, I was, and Cody being my former roommate, I was the calm, more placid individual. And Cody Thomas, we'd go places and I would think, I literally don't think you could be any louder. And on the Jonesing for Sports podcast, I've kind of adopted the more wild personality and kind of the crazy, unhinged person of this pod, I would say. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like, are we both going to just be wild, unhinged maniacs in one pod? Will that work?
Yeah, because you're going against each other, and that's going to be like, you remember how much fun we had when we did the Franz Wagner debate and the energy there?
Still one of our best pods.
Like, our mom came downstairs and was like, "Are you guys okay? Do you still love each other?" And the answer is yes, most of the time. But with you and Cody, you're going to have that energy all the time, and that's going to be so entertaining. So looking forward to that football frenemies.
Yeah, well, I think there's a balance to be struck. I know in Looney Tunes, there's only one Tasmanian devil. I don't think there's two for a reason. So we'll see how the chaos, falls. We'll let that just happen and shake it out and see what we like, and hopefully you guys will like it too.
I think the reason there weren't two Tasmanian devils is that the creators were afraid of greatness. I think that was the natural next step for that whole creative world, was just to take that insanity and take it to the next level. So I know you're afraid of it, Brand. I think it's going to be a beautiful thing, and I personally cannot wait for that first episode.
It's like the Hulk. He's such a great character, and they had a whole movie or comic book series where Hulk goes to Planet Hulk, and there's a bunch of them. That's you're the Hulk, and you're going to join Cody Thomas on Planet Hulk. I'm excited for just the chaos.
Planet Hulk. That would be the ideal podcast if we could be like Sakaar, just crazy. I'll drop a teaser to maybe whet your appetites. On the first pod, Cody has created a new system for college football. I know that Travis in particular is going to love this. Maybe the traditionalists out there might think it's a little bit too extreme, but I'm telling you, this new system that he has created would make college football, without a doubt, the most spectacular sport in the world. And I kind of already appreciate college football the most, but this would just make it the best. And I hope we can accurately communicate the system, because it took me a while to read through and understand every nuance of it. But man, I'm excited. We're going to start a dialogue, and hopefully by 2035, 2040, this thing is going to be out there, because man, it would be insane. So tune in to the Football Frenemies podcast, title pending, to learn what college football could be. Ooh, give me the chills just thinking about it.
Well, I'm super excited for that, Brand. I'm going to be your number one fan for that. But before we go any deeper, this is the first time people are seeing our faces. We probably should put a name to each of our faces so people know who's talking. We already got one comment from someone who knows us, but they're being a tool. And it's not Tool Time Thomas. So I'm Travis. We are all brothers. And so when you hear my voice. And then our intro man, three brothers. And then this is our intro man, color commentator, glue guy,
Cody. Hi. I thought you were just going to introduce me. I was just kind of lost. Honestly, where my mind was at is I keep looking at Brandon's name, B Dizzle. And I'm really hoping that people that are watching
they can't
live
see that.
They can't see that.
No.
That's really disappointing. I was really hoping that everybody else was made privy to that information. But now you know. Over here on the other camera, we got B Dizzle, the one and only Brandon Jones, in the yellow. So this is what we look like for those of you who haven't seen us before. Can't imagine at this point that's too many people, but maybe there are some. So yeah, now you can finally see what we look like. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you. Let us know in the comments. Maybe don't. Yeah, on second thought, don't. But yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Speaking of the comments, shout out to everybody in the comments.
Absolutely. I didn't expect to see anybody. I thought we'd have producer Jer Bear and that'd be it. And he would just be having his own little one-man rave. But we got some good comments up in there, and that's exciting to see.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Some rando just asked for my number. That's pretty crazy.
Jordan Parks also asked for Travis' number.
Just kidding. That's my girlfriend. Jordan Parks, not my girlfriend. But honored still.
Good clarification there.
But you guys, awesome. Thank you. Keep it going. And if you got any real good questions, we'll answer them as we can. That will be fantastic. And yes, Jaron, Brandon, and Cody Tooltime Thomas are going to be doing a podcast. So
where can I find these comments?
On the YouTube live stream. So I keep just checking it. So you would have to go to the live stream. You're just seeing our beautiful faces on the Riverside.
Maybe you can send me that link. You guys ever listen to a podcast for like years, and then you finally see what the podcasters look like, and you're like, oh.
Yes.
There's probably like tens of people that are going to be doing that. Oh. That's what Brandon looks like. He looks worse than he sounds.
I didn't know Brandon had a mustache.
I'm really
that's going to make
that
them
I shaved
excited.
Mine literally like 2 days ago. I didn't realize that we'd be going live, but I did know we were going to be doing video, so that's on me.
This is our first video as well, so we're excited about doing this, and we just wanted to get it out first. So the quality isn't the best it's going to be. This is literally just webcam right now, and Cody and I are sitting next to each other, sharing a mic. Soon, we were going to experiment with split screens, Cody and I being away. That is coming. We're working on our kind of studio area a little bit better to make this process a little prettier for you. But this is what you got. If you don't like looking at these ugly mugs, we're a normal audio podcast as well, so you don't have to see us when we're talking. And I might choose that if I were you.
Yeah, and we also have like fives of people in the chat. It's going to really destroy our listens on Spotify. So we may have to... Oh, babyface Cody. I knew I shouldn't have shaved. My goodness. Okay, we'll bring the stash back just for you, Jaron. We'll get back on that action. I should have known better. But
we are going to have to do this way more often on the YouTube live because the comments actually are a blast.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
If we didn't have as much,
by the way,
sucks to be you.
I posted the link on our Discord, brand, so you can find it there.
That's all I needed.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that either. I was wondering how all these people found us, but that's so cool.
But yeah,
you guys are awesome.
We're gonna need to do this with just our next Q&A section where we just go live because you guys are good. This would be just so much fun.
Oh yeah,
I kind of wish we didn't have a script tonight so we could just keep it with that. But
honestly, we could be flexible. We'll see what happens. Keep chopping it up in the chat, and maybe we'll kind of divert a little bit in the direction that this pod will go. But we have kind of talked intros for long enough, so you guys want to just kind of get right into it and talk some Pokemon?
Definitely. Like every day of my life.
This is our first video chat for Jonesing for Sports. We
got to start with
did
some
all
Pokemon.
This intro and then want to get into it and talk Pokemon?
Yeah. Well, like any freak out there, when my mind is idle, a lot of times I am just thinking of team comps, my favorite Pokemon, and just, what I want to see from the franchise. I've been thinking about what a Pokemon VR game would look like. I'm really excited about that potential. Saw there was one actually for a little bit, and then the Pokemon company quickly shut that down, of course, because copyrights. But it did get me wondering what my favorite 6 Pokemon are. Like if I was going to comprise a team or make a team comprised of my 6 favorites, what would that look like? And I'm curious to see what your guys' favorites are as well. And so, just to get us started here, chopping things up, we're going to each contribute 2 of our favorite Pokemon to make our dream team of 6. Probably won't have a shred of strategy to it, but this is going to be the 6, I guess, top voted Pokemon by the Jonesing for Sports brothers. Anybody want to get us started?
I'll get started because I'm the least Pokemon fluent of the 3 of us. So I'm sure you guys will bring it home. So I feel like this will kind of be a good just warm up for you guys. And I'm keeping it OG out of the first 150 Pokemon because that's about where my knowledge started and stopped. And it started real early with one of the first original 3. I'm picking Blastoise because it was my favorite Pokemon card ever. The Holo Blastoise was just dope. In my opinion, better than the Charizard.
Ooh.
But
There's a spicy take.
but like all the way up from Squirtle, Wartortle to Blastoise, he was just a baller, and he just got better and better. And Blastoise with freaking water cannons on his shell, and he was just so dope. I think the next Pokemon I'm gonna pick is also just kind of the sturdy circular Pokemon. Maybe I just identified with them.
So you identify as Golem? I knew it.
How'd you know that?
Circular. That's all I needed.
That was my number 2. Was Golem.
Yeah, I respect it.
I don't know why. They're like just sturdy. You can just rely on them. I think I find motivation from that type of Pokemon.
Okay, fair enough.
Comment on your Blastoise pick. One of the underrated qualities of Blastoise is that all of his prior evolutions are also awesome. Because Squirtle is just adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wartortle is just really cool. I don't know if you remember the one anime episode where there's a Squirtle squad and they go out and they like
I was going to mention that.
Put out fires and they wear sunglasses. They're the coolest little turtles. And then of course Blastoise, when he comes in, is like he's just so cool. So definitely I love both those picks. Very glad that they're on our team. Our strategy's already set. We've got Blastoise and Golem. We're starting strong.
Our chat is fantastic for this, too, because we've got the Pokemon connoisseur, Jaren, here. And one, he said he was going to judge the 6 we chose. And already I misspoke and said 150 instead of 151, and he called me out.
I saw that. I didn't want to interrupt you because I was like, got him.
Oh, man.
I'm going to get
next?
judged hard for mine.
Oh, good.
Bran, I want you to go next because I think there's a chance you take one I'm going to say, and I have a few different that I'm waffling between.
Okay.
So you go ahead.
So my all-time favorite Pokemon is Arcanine. And
great choice.
He's just the goodest boy. Mm-hmm. And I try to, if I ever play a Pokemon game, I always try to get an Arcanine on my team. And I think I always liked him because when I played the original Pokemon games, he was actually referred to as a legendary Pokemon, but you could just get him regularly. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was young and those games came out, I sucked at Pokemon, so I couldn't get the legendaries very easily, but I could get Arcanine, and I get him every time. So Arcanine is my number 1 favorite Pokemon. We're gonna add him to the team. But
he's
second
stupid
Pokemon,
strong too.
Oh, stats are crazy. He's OP.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad that you added him. I know we're not doing strategy, but Travis picking Blastoise over Charizard, that gives us a real strong fire type to the team. We're off to a hop and start, boys.
I'm about to destroy our strategy because
Magikarp.
My second favorite Pokemon, I don't know if he's my second favorite, but I'm drawn to him. I'm basic. I love Charizard. I'm going second.
There it is. There it is.
I have a shiny Charizard, and did you know shiny Charizard is black? So he is so cool, and I think there's a reason everyone loves Charizard. So yes, I'm basic. You can hate me. Charizard is awesome. Blastoise is awesome too, but man, I think he sets the standard for awesome starter Pokemon. He's a fire dragon. There's a reason everyone thinks that dragons are cool.
Can we all agree that Venusaur sucks?
No.
Comparatively?
Comparatively, but I love Venusaur
by
too.
comparison,
Do you?
I think that the original starters are all just excellent.
I'm not gonna hate on Venusaur, but I mean, you have a fire dragon.
Yeah.
You have a turtle with water cannons on his back that
cannons.
puts out fires. And then you have a frog with an onion on his back. That's what you get out of Venusaur. I mean, I think he's pretty dope, but they
Bulbasaur
also
is awesome.
get that.
Bulbasaur is awesome. I'll give it to you.
No, I
He's
can't.
definitely the worst out of the three, but like if you stack him up compared to some of the other starters, I think he would be the best in other generations. Just saying.
No, I think those are solid picks. My 2 picks were not going to help our composition whatsoever. And now they definitely won't. But they're very similar to one another because I'm pretty basic. So I think favorite Pokemon all time for me has got to be Gyarados.
Knew it.
Oh, yes.
I have pretty strong, like it's a core memory of swimming out to the center of the lake and finding that red shiny Gyarados and making that a part of my squad in Pokemon Crystal early on. And not only is that a part of the game, so it's super nice to have him to your party. He's stupid strong, super strong attack, super fast. He's just a natural born sweeper, natural born leader. He's tenacious, a monster, vindictive.
Jackhammer.
He's like a whirling dervish. I don't even know what a dervish is, but that's what he's like. Just a classic started from the bottom, now we hear type of story coming up from Magikarp. Just unassuming, nobody Magikarp, and then just being a kick butt baller of a Pokemon, super ferocious. Love me some Gyarados. He's gonna be a part of any team that I have if I can get my hands on a Magikarp. I am elated. And then similar to that, I also choose Melodic. And so Melodic is a little lesser known than
There's one
Gyarados.
for Spencer.
Because you have to go a couple generations beyond Gen 1. But Melodic is also kind of a sea dragon monster type, except instead of being ferocious, Melodic is like more like a beautiful Pokemon because its earlier stage is Feebas. It's comparative to Magikarp, super friggin' ugly, but also really, really hard to catch. And I could go into more detail about why that is, but when you finally get a Melodic, it is so satisfying. And he's kind of the counter to Gyarados in that he has a really high special attack. So very special place in my heart for sea monsters, but also those 2 in particular. Love them very much.
JP in the chat asks about the legendary birds.
Good question. We might have to ditch the script tonight, boys. I could go on.
I honestly could not rank them because I think they're all perfect.
Yeah.
But Jaren is saying Zapdos is the top bird. Story about Zapdos.
It's coming from a Pokemon card guy.
Playing the game would have been Blue, I think, that I played. And all I knew was that when you catch a legendary Pokemon, you have to save the game. And being a little kid, I didn't really understand. So I fought the Pokemon, killed it, and saved the game, and then reset, and then said, oh no, Zapdos is gone forever. So that entire playthrough, no Zapdos.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
You stupid little boy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I probably would have done the same thing back in the day.
So a little scarred
That's a
from
bummer.
that, but I love all of them equally. I think that they're perfect Pokemon.
Can you rank the birds? I can rank the legendary dogs. I don't know if I can rank the birds.
No, I do have an honorable mention Pokemon that was close to my list. He's kind of a jerk Pokemon, so I didn't list him, but it's Mewtwo. And the only reason is
good call.
Not necessarily because he like struck a chord with me as a Pokemon, but he had one quote in
but as a person,
his arc of becoming who he is now. It was really motivational. And I have the quote here. I always have to look it up, but it motivates me. But Cody can always pull it out. So, Code, I've got it here, but
yeah, sure.
I'm ready for you.
So, I've learned that it's not the circumstances of one's birth that determine Oh, dang it. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you got it.
It usually takes me a couple tries. One sec. Oh, sucks that this is live.
Yeah,
It
it's
adds more
pressure.
pressure to it. It's I've learned that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It's what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
Word for word.
There we go. I always screwed up the first time. I don't know why.
I used
That
to have a
quote
mute.
came from a Pokemon movie.
Yeah. Cornerstone of a generation,
I have a Mewtwo card,
or at least for me.
and I keep it by my stationary bike, and I put it up there just as motivation, thinking about that quote as I'm working out sometimes. So that almost made my list just for real life effects a Pokemon had on me. That sounds
Cody,
so ridiculous.
No, it's not.
Because Jaren wants
this
you
is
to
such a
rank the-
divided world, and you can find just that simple truth in Pokemon. It unifies us all. What is Jaren saying?
He wants you to rank the legendary dogs, and then maybe after we get into our actual scheduled content.
Yeah. So maybe. So Raikou's got to be on top, 100%. Super fast, the speediest boy, but also his design is just wicked cool. It's very difficult, especially in the early generations, to find a strong electric type. There may be a couple. I don't know if you're going to be rolling with Electabuzz, but once you get Raikou, you could get Jolteon, but Jolteon's moveset is just absolute booty cheeks. So Raikou for the win. He's my one legendary that I allow in my party. I don't know if you guys roll by those rules. I let one legendary, nothing more. I'm rolling with Raikou. And then I'm kind of torn between the other two, but I got to give the edge to Suicune just by design alone. There's more strong water types, so I find Entei more useful, but Suicune just looks absolutely sick. And so when I catch Suicune, I feel pretty cool. But Entei is actually a roaming legendary, so that gives him a little bit of a coolness factor as well. Those two I could go, 2A, 2B on. But
You're talking from a crystal perspective. If you're playing silver or gold, they're all roaming.
True. I'm a crystal diehard.
What is this podcast for?
It's for us. It's for us and maybe like Jaren and Cody Thomas. We'll see.
I love the niche of like nerd sports fans.
This wasn't supposed to
We
happen.
haven't talked about sports yet on our first ever video episode.
To be fair.
Where people look back and click on, oh, that's the first one, Jonesing for Sports, and we haven't said one thing yet, except for the intro.
All right. One, calm down.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No. I like the fire. Two, this is live. So this one, it's not going to be posted to the YouTube. They can just see it now.
True, but I'm recording all of it.
Yeah, well, whatever. Three, when we were making the outline for this, I didn't realize we were going to be fielding questions. That wasn't expected. But, sometimes, you know what they say? That's show business, baby. You got to go where the show needs you to go. And when the people ask you to talk more about Pokemon, you talk more about Pokemon.
Do we just ditch sports?
Depends. What are the people saying?
Do we just make this
I gotta fight Trav tonight.
nerdcast?
That's true. We do have some other stuff that we definitely got to talk about. Oh, my man, Jaren. Thank you. All right, should we talk about sports?
Yes.
Yeah, let's answer the mailbag.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely
I'm excited
got to.
about
We
this.
definitely got to talk about sports. At least, go ahead.
This is extra good because the person who asked the mailbag is in our live, so they can interact with this as we go through it. So
fantastic.
As we kind of give them crap, they were pretty good questions this time.
Oh,
I love the questions.
So
yeah.
I wish it was one where we could give crap and disagree, but they're pretty good questions. So
all right, well, let's jump right into it from our mailbag channel in the Discord. Jump into that channel if you haven't yet already. This is where you can post your questions and we will answer them on the pod. Jaren posts, what do the Lions need to do to become a media darling, aka the Kansas City referees? I really like that question because did Kansas City do enough to deserve to win that game? I think Brandon put it that exact same way. I think they did. But that game still just left you feeling like just gross.
Yeah.
Like you don't want any sporting event to feel like that. You want it to be determined by the players. You want to be talking about the awesome plays that were made, not the awesome calls that determine the game. It's sickening. But at the same time, it would be really nice to have your own team on the end of those calls that are seeing you through to a Super Bowl. So, boys, what do the Detroit Lions have to do to become media darlings like that? I have my answer.
Me too.
Go for it.
I like that we all had an answer, but we just sat there quietly. We're just polite.
I
just
did
polite
my
like that.
bit.
My answer is
stop that.
I think they did it. This just wasn't the year. The script wasn't for the Lions this year, but for the media. Think of everything that happened last year that painted them as America's new team. It's not just Lions fans who are saying the Lions are now the Cowboys, where the Cowboys don't necessarily get the calls either, but they're America's team. So I guess I'm answering twofold. I think the Lions are America's team right now. They don't have a hated guy on the team, do they? They have a coach that everyone loves. They have a quarterback who's, the quarterback's vanilla, but he's doing good enough. And that's been a fun one. I'm excited to hear what Jaron says about that in the chat. We have a running back who is the nerdiest, funniest guy in the league. We've got explosive wide receivers now. We have a defensive line with young talent. The defense is still not there, but this team has won over American hearts. And if the NFL is really about money and less about the real team winning, the Lions have done that. America loves them and wants to see more Dan Campbell. They want to see more Jamal Williams. So I think the narrative, it wasn't worth it to the NFL this year. There was other teams with other stars that need to get their Super Bowls this year, but next year, who says no?
Those are all really nice things, and I don't necessarily disagree. But the one thing that the Lions don't have is their star. They don't have that front man that's going to be bringing in all the dollar bills, all the views, because at the end of the day, that's all the NFL cares about. There may be people that are thinking, yeah, I'd love to see the Lions go on a run, but they are not bringing in the same amount of revenue that the Kansas City Chiefs are. And so at the end of the day, if you don't have that star who's going to be bringing in the fans to be making this one of the most watched games, one of the most watched teams, the NFL doesn't care if people like them or not. They're not going to be really caring whether or not they make it to the next stage. And honestly, as we've seen from suspect games in the past, they might even go the opposite way to try and make sure that teams like that don't have that much of a fandom, that they don't make it to the next stage, do their part to make sure that the teams that have a bigger share of the market can make it to that next stage. Because these big businesses, what they care about is a sure thing. And you know what's a sure thing?
Jamal Williams shaking his hips twice after 17 touchdowns.
Patrick Mahomes, that's what's a sure thing. Tom Brady, that's a sure thing. You have
not anymore.
You have these big names.
Tom Brady retired, opened up there goes our light.
Oh man. I'm going to keep talking for a little bit and then I'll fix that, or you can fix it. But I mean, yeah, not Tom Brady anymore. But you get any of those proven names. Wow, that does look way worse without the light. Good call there, producer Jer Bear. You get any of those big names at the next level, at a Super Bowl, that's going to increase your revenue by so much. And we might argue as fans, it's going to be a better Super Bowl, a more intriguing Super Bowl if the Detroit Lions are there. But that's not the way the NFL sees it. The way the NFL sees it is that's not a guaranteed thing. This has never happened before. We don't want to take risks. It's the same as the sports books. They don't want to be taking risks. We're going to minimize risk. And I think that's what this is all about. If you get a star on your team, that's what's going to help you get some of these calls. That's what's going to help you have a more positive outlook in the light of the NFL.
Cody mentioned a few guys, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. Is there who else would you add to the list of media darlings that the NFL would like to push forward if they can to a favorable outcome?
It's funny because I kind of thought Joe Burrow, that would be the name that would come up next, but it's difficult when you got to match up Joe Burrow versus the current darling of Patty Mahomes. So, I mean, they're always going to have to be going through each other to get to the Super Bowl. It's a little bit of a bummer there for the NFL's sake, but that would be the name that I would put next. He's young. Can you find a person that doesn't like Joe Burrow? That would be my nominee.
Every other AFC team.
Well,
I
that's
would
the thing.
add
Joe Burrow's AFC.
Incredibly talented.
I think there's fewer darlings in the NFC, which bodes well for the Lions.
that was my point, was that Cody
pretty
listed
dark now.
Burrow,
That's okay.
Mahomes, and Brady. Brady is retired. I believe he is retired for good. I could be wrong, but I think so. And he was playing in the NFC. So there's an open spot. Now, I do think the Cowboys are a media darling, and if the Lions were to match up with the Cowboys, they're gonna have to beat more than just 11 men on the field. But I think that there is an opening. There is a vacancy for second star of the NFC. I think the Lions can get that. It's going to be a process. Like Travis said, I don't think it's going to be from a singular player. I actually think that the Lions need to make a concerted effort to put Dan Campbell front and center as much as possible, to get as many sound bites and kneecap bites and everything that they can to make people love him even more and want to see more and more and more. And eventually, maybe we start to see a little bit more calls go our way. With Aaron Rodgers, probably not going to be at least not in our division anymore. I'm not sure what team he'll end up on, but the Lions could at least be the darlings of the NFC North. And then, you go from there, and hopefully you don't have to match up with, let's say, the Cowboys. Because like Burrow found out, if you run into another darling, one media darling might have a little more sway than the other. But I think we're on the right track, but it's not there yet, because I think it'll take some time. We're going to have to win a playoff game one year, and then stack, maybe win 2 playoff games another year, and then we'll get there. But yeah, and short of getting a superstar level, MVP level quarterback, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, I think you made some good points though there. I think we're well on our way. And honestly, even just looking at the division, where it's at right now, I mean, Bears are a joke. Packers probably losing Aaron Rodgers. Just got to make it through the Vikings. And the Vikings were punching well above their weight this past season. We could just go ahead and win the division. That would do quite a bit. I mean, I know when's the last time we've done that,
before.
right? But that would go a long way to bolstering the Lions' street cred. And who knows what happens after that. I think there's a very real chance that happens next year. Even if that sounds outlandish to say, I think it's possible. We'll go ahead and move on to the next question. Jerome asks, long way into the future, but what home game in September are we all looking to go to, referring to Michigan football? I was thinking Rutgers personally. That's Jaron speaking there. Any of those games sticking out to you boys in particular? I think Rutgers is a really good choice. First conference game that Michigan will be playing. I don't know that we'll necessarily make the trip all the way out to New Jersey to see Rutgers in their stadium, with our goal of seeing all the different away stadiums in the Big Ten. So that might be our best chance to see a Rutgers game. But were there any other games that were sticking out to you boys?
In the non-con, the very first game against East Carolina, I think is easily the best non-con game. The other two, UNLV and Bowling Green, are going to be jokes. Michigan probably wins those games by 50 points. East Carolina is a decent program, and it's the very first game, so there might be some rust to knock off. So the score might be a little closer, and just the first game excitement, that one's definitely got my attention. The home schedule sucks. I'm just going to say it. All the away games are awesome. Obviously, Ohio State does come to the big house, but unless you're willing to blow a huge wad of cash, that one's right now tickets as low as $450 for Ohio State. Wow, awesome. So East Carolina's got my attention. I've already been to a Rutgers game, so I'd rather pick a different one. But other than that, I'm sorry, I'm breaking the question. I'm going to go to an away game. We want to see more stadiums.
Boo.
If I'm picking an away stadium,
right,
Nebraska.
Nebraska. I want to take a road trip to Nebraska.
Yes, me too.
Matt Rule might get these guys whipped into shape, and I would love to take a trip out there. I've never been, and I hear great things about Memorial Stadium. So sorry to break the question that way. I would just say East Carolina, the home opener, is my first home pick. And then, maybe if I'm a really good boy, maybe Ohio State. But there's so much guilt to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, that was actually something I was going to ask. That is a home game. That is in bounds. How much would be too much before you would rule out going to the Michigan Ohio State game?
Cody, did you just comment Nebraska boo?
No.
You're talking to us. and commented.
I wanted an easier
Nebraska.
way to pull up chat. As I mentioned, I didn't know that we were going to be live streaming, but we need to be able to have chat up. So pulled it up on my phone real quick just so I can more easily see what people are gabbing about in the comments. Figured I'd add my own little. Yeah, Spencer agrees. Boo. Boo that choice. The question was a home field game.
Yeah, I gave it.
And you...
East Carolina.
Okay, fine. Trav, I am surprised at you
What'd
because Michigan's playing Purdue at home November 4th. The
Yeah, but
Spoilermakers.
Purdue just
You're
lost their
adopted.
coach.
Don't matter. They're always going to be the Spoilermakers.
Jeff
And,
Brom's a really good coach.
That is still Travis's number 2 team, right? In the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Your second love?
They're in a rebuild, though, so I don't know if I want to see my second team get clobbered at home. I'd rather go to watch my second team play like one of your guys' teams, and we just have a random pretend to be fans day.
I would go see a Purdue IU game.
Oh, yeah. That would be really fun.
But
As long as it's not at IU.
Coming to the big house. Oh yeah, IU sucked.
I don't need to go back there.
I don't need to go back to IU.
Garbage university.
We picked IU to go to as our first away game, and I feel like it's just going to be all better than that everywhere we go.
It will
Even
be.
Northwestern, I feel like it's going to be a better time.
Northwestern is kind of legit, I think.
There are a couple comments I want to address real quick. We've been talking a little bit too much sports. So back to Pokemon. Jaron, don't you ever hate on Crystal? Crystal version. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's the OG, but that is art. And if you can't appreciate that, then you're a Neanderthal at that point. Crystal is goated. Also to Jeremy, looks like you got into the Discord. We're thankful to have you. That is also something that we're going to be looking to improve, just our visibility of our different platforms. So we're going to be putting a link tree together where you can access the Discord, our YouTube. Also, TikTok, we'll be putting more content out on that as well. Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. We'll also have another post tonight on our socials if you're tuning into this to be able to access that Discord. But that's something that will be made more available as well. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And also, Jaron mentioned tailgating week 1. I think that might be something we need to look into because this tailgate for the Hawaii game, that was some of the most fun I had in a minute.
That was one of my favorite
fun.
Sporting event moments ever.
If we could get even more people out there, just bring the whole Jonesing crew, the more the merrier. That's one of my favorite days of the year when we get to go out and tailgate. So I'm all for us doing that again. Maybe that's what we ought to do. Might be a bit pricey for the first game of the season, but at this point, it might be worth it.
We get the parents' motorhome. We set up tent. We make good food, cornhole, toss the football around, and we just watched football all day.
That was so freaking fun.
That was so fun. So okay, yeah, Jaron, mark it. We'll figure out which one. Do we figure it out right now? Do we just make a decision on which one we're going to tailgate?
I think we need to see some ticket
right
prices
now.
first.
Right now?
I think we need some ticket prices first. But very much appreciate those additions to our mailbag, Jaron. Those were some great questions.
Sorry, Jaron, I tried.
Keep asking great questions, and we'll address that a bit further as that time gets closer as well. But we do need to move along as well. So for the rest of you out there, encourage you to put some questions just like that in the mailbag section of our Discord. We'd love to answer them.
Or tweet at us. It's super easy to reach us. So there's 3 of us. You can find us on Twitter. But really, the Discord's popping. It's been a lot of fun. We even had a Caleb Wesson sighting in there last week. That was pretty bonkers. So if you want to see what that was about, join the Discord.
Absolutely. Get in on that action. And speaking of action, Michigan recently hired Kirk Campbell as the new quarterbacks coach for Michigan. And Brandon thinks that will be the downfall of the Michigan Wolverines. Can you tell us a little bit about why you feel that way?
I don't think that it's going to be the downfall at all. In fact, I think that
Yeah, right.
if you or me was the quarterback's coach next year, I think that, and let me say, if you, me, or a bag of stinky manure was the quarterback's coach next year, Michigan football is still going to have a top 5 offense. Like, I don't think that it necessarily matters that much this year because J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion, is a top 3 quarterback in the nation. And he's got upside to be a top 1. I said what I said. I know that there's a returning Heisman Trophy quarterback coming back to USC, but maybe this is my pro-style brain thinking. J.J. McCarthy has every single tool to be the next media darling in the NFL. And he could do that at Michigan too. The question is, are they going to let him? They really let J.J. Cook against Ohio State. They did against TCU. But pretty much the rest of the season, other than against Indiana when they needed it because they were tied at halftime, they bottled them up and they tried to keep them hidden away. They hid their light under a bushel.
No.
And my desire was for a quarterback's coach / offensive coordinator. Kirk Campbell is going to be the quarterback's coach. I don't think he's going to have a huge role in the offense. I wanted someone to come in that was going to have a role in the offense to open up the offense. Let these guys shine. I think you're doing a disservice to your players and your fans when you have guys like Roman Wilson, who, in my opinion, has the ability to be one of the more electric wide receivers in the country, and he finishes with something like 300 or 400 yards total for the whole year. He was awesome against TCU. He had 2 touchdowns, he had over 100 yards, and he probably could have had more. There were some really meaty options out there where if you think about a guy to come in like this is a name that gets thrown out a lot, Joe Brady. If you're not familiar with Joe Brady, he was the offensive coordinator for LSU in 2019 of the most electric offense of all time. And it helps that he had some pretty good players like Joe Burrow or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. So, yeah, he was helped by that. But the principle being they had those guys and they just let them play. Joe Burrow would just throw the ball up to his wide receivers and they would make plays. And I think Michigan has got guys not on that level, but of a level that they would be better than every defense they're going to play. And you just have to let them make plays. To have an offense that is going to be allowing your players' strengths to be maximized so that they can do it in the playoffs. Because asking J.J. McCarthy to have a career high in pass attempts in a playoff game is a recipe for failure. He should have had those pass attempts earlier so that he could iron out his rough edges and not throw 2 pick sixes. Actually, my biggest concern is not that they don't have this great new mind as an offensive play caller. My biggest concern is that Sharon Moore is going to be taken from his duties as offensive line coach and be the sole offensive coordinator. If I was to point out one reason, like the biggest reason that Harbaugh has turned the corner from his first 6 or 7 years where we would win 9 or 10 games, and now we've won the Big Ten the past 2 years and gone to the playoff the past 2 years, I would say it's the offensive line play. That is the biggest reason, I believe, of the success for the Michigan football team. And Sharon Moore has been the coach for those years. And so you're taking the greatest strength of your team and you're saying, well, someone else can hopefully do a decent enough job. I hate that. If it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it. Sharon Moore should coach the offensive line, and he should be a co-offensive coordinator. Taking him to the sole offensive coordinator role is going to stretch him too thin. I mean, I just think it seems crazy to me. You've won the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row, and you're messing with a perfect formula, basically. So that's actually my biggest
thoughts
concern.
For you.
Go ahead.
Two thoughts. So my biggest thing that I was thinking about during that, you made some really great points, and I don't disagree with you. What my mind goes to, let's say we hire Joe Brady or somebody of that nature. Do you think Harbaugh allows them to transform the offense, or do you think we're still going to see the typical Harbaugh just meat and potatoes, straightforward, ground and pound, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type offense.
So Joe Brady was just one example, but if you look at his offense for LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who this might be a hot take, but in my opinion, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a poor man's Blake Corum. So he had basically the same stats that Blake Corum had last year in the 2019 offense. He had 1,400 yards. He had almost 20 touchdowns. He had almost the same amount of carries. So you can still run the heck out of the ball, and you can still pass the heck out of the ball. It's just the biggest problem that I see with Michigan's offense is basically predictability, in that they're going to run the ball on first and second down, where if you just swap the order, you're going to pass on first down and then maybe run on second and third. Instead of a run pass, it's a pass run, or a pass run pass. Just change it up, keep them on their toes. The formula doesn't have to change much other than just being more unpredictable. The reason I said Joe Brady was because of he let guys cook. Another guy that's out there, Byron Leftwich. He was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was recently let go, but he spent the past couple years with Tom Brady. I mean, the guy has worked with the greatest of all time. Going back to Joe Brady, right now he's the quarterback's coach for the Buffalo Bills. He's been working with Josh Allen, who is a quarterback that some people would say J.J. McCarthy compares favorably to, with his ability to extend the play, his speed, and his arm. That's just two names off the top of my head that at least see, like,
yeah. And
try.
my point wasn't necessarily like Joe Brady in particular. My point is that this is something that we've known. We've been clamoring for this forever, past to open up the run. That's kind of how the modern game is played these days. But that's something that Harbaugh just seems so resistant to move on to. So I almost feel like it doesn't matter who you bring into that role. They're still going to be operating under the Harbaugh system. That's kind of the way I'm leaning towards that.
I feel like this call almost is Harbaugh saying, it doesn't really matter because you have me.
Yeah.
I was a Michigan quarterback.
Exactly.
I'm the quarterback coach, really. You're my apprentice.
He's still the quarterback whisperer. This is his offense, and I don't think he's going to let go of that.
So that's probably the biggest obstacle, and that's a problem. And I think if a big name like that came in, they would not come in unless it was their offense. So you're right. That's probably why we wouldn't get a name, and that's probably why they're hiring a guy from their own staff that really no one had heard of. So yeah, you nailed it. It's a little bit of Harbaugh stubbornness, I think. But
the other thing I wanted to make note of is with Sharon Moore, people are already throwing his name into the conversation for head coaching gigs elsewhere. And so if you keep him as an offensive line coach, it's more likely than not that he's going to find greener pastures elsewhere where he's really allowed to thrive. And it's very clear that he has refined his craft, and what he has produced has been the best in the nation, winning the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row. He has done phenomenal for Michigan, but if you don't promote that success, you lose it. So it would be nice if we lived in a world where Weiss didn't get arrested for computer crimes. I'm just going to continue to call it hacking because that sounds way funnier to me. But that's not the world we live in. And so I think really promoting him to OC was the only option we had.
Keep computers away
he is
from our
OC.
coaches.
He's the co-offensive coordinator.
I mean, keeping him at OC, yes, he was already there. But making him
really
the prime and sole OC.
I don't think that co-OC to sole OC is going to be the defining career jump that gets him a head coaching job.
I think it could be, because last year no one knew who called a play. Like, I'm not going to hire. I would hire Sharon Moore if I'm really valuing his line work, because his line work is top notch, like Cody said. But if he's the sole OC and our offense actually looks like they have answers and they adjust, and he can kind of prove himself to be a well-known play calling coach and leading a group outside of just the line, I think that could be a defining moment for his career.
I was actually going the opposite direction and saying that if you pair somebody up with him and say, hey, we're going to bring in another guy to be co-OC and not give it to you, that might be a little bit frustrating for him with how well he's done in that role and with the offensive line. He probably feels like he is entitled to have that position all to himself and might be ready to move on if he didn't get that chance.
Is it crazy that I don't view it as like he's done just the greatest job at offensive coordinator?
Offensive
At
coordinator,
or
no.
offensive line?
Offensive line
coordinator
would be yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
offensive line, yeah, that proofs in this regular season pudding.
I don't think that he has been the guy calling the plays. I think he's been a guy designing designing the game scripts and the scouting and basically putting the game plan together. So this would be a jump for him. And at the same time, going back to your point of is it a career like maker, even if we know he's calling plays, I think it's still going to be, well, it's still Harbaugh's offense, and he collaborates with these guys. So I don't know that it's going to be this huge like, oh, Sharon Moore's offense, they're scoring 40 points a game. You're going to say, man, Jim Harbaugh's got this thing going. And I understand you have to reward your high achievement folks. If I was Michigan, I'd say, okay, how much money do you want? Because what you're doing is priceless. I think Sharon Moore should make a lot more money because he's made really awesome offensive lines. And that is the key to everything Michigan does. If you can't block the run, then you can't run the ball. And then you're throwing on 3rd and long, and we know how that goes. So,
dude, same thing with Jesse Minter. Give him all the money in Ann Arbor. I know the season didn't end on a good defensive note, but to step in his first year and get the production that he did out of that defense, that was huge for the 2022 season. But that's just the natural way of things. Coaches don't set their sights on being a long-term OC or a defensive coordinator. They want to become a head coach. That's kind of the natural progression of things. So it is a little bit disappointing, when you hire some dynamite coordinators that inevitably you're going to lose them. So I think it's a matter of when, not if. So that's why this next year, I think, really has got to be the year for a multitude of reasons. Of course, we have JJ and a lot of other pieces that we have for one final year. But I don't want to look too far into the future. This next year, I think we have some really great coaching personnel and everything that we essentially need outside of, I still am very questionable on our wide receiver core. Roman Wilson's going to have to carry the team hard. But we'll see what happens.
It's
still bullish.
As you said, not to look too far into the future. And I feel like that's a little bit what we're doing right now because we've got all off season to go still. And we've got another burning question about a Michigan team that is playing right now. So to transition a little bit to that, Cody, you want to lead into the Jett? Just set the table for us.
Well, that's all I'm going to do because I feel like there's going to be plenty of content coming on either sides of me. I don't really have a dog in this fight. But Jett Howard, the youngest of 2 Howard sons playing on Michigan's basketball team, is, as Brandon defined, I think a Ferrari sitting in the garage. This kid can score, and score he does in spades. But he struggles to put up many other stats, or really any other stats. And so these two have some pretty differing views on that. Brandon thinks that, he's kind of what Michigan needs him to be, or at least the least of Michigan's worries, considering the current state of the rest of our players. Travis hates him, as I said, as a player and a person, so he will tell you why.
I like that there's no gray area in these debates. It's you hate him or you love him.
That's what the people want. That's the content that drives the algorithm.
So I'm just going to say this once for clarity, and then everyone can forget it. I don't hate Jett Howard. I think he does do a lot of good for the team, and he is one of the best scorers, and he will be drafted high. Now, forget I ever said that, because I'm digging into him now, and you can pretend like I hate him.
Well, here, I'll lob it up to you. On a previous podcast, you said that you were looking forward to him not being on the team next year.
This is the Mo Wagner debate all over again.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you why.
Lottery pick?
If your lottery pick doesn't do anything else for your team, this team doesn't need that right now. They need guys who can play defense. They can rebound. They can do 75% of basketball that he doesn't do. Jett Howard belongs on a good basketball team, and this is not it right now. If the team's trending forward, and if they really can actually figure things out, then saying he doesn't belong on this team and I'd be happy he's gone is foolish. Now, if we're talking Jace could have left last year and I'd be happy. He's the worst offensive player I've ever seen in my life. Jett is really good at offense. He can score, he can shoot. He's in a slump right now. And offensively, he's a lot of fun, and he's the only guy on the team that seems like he can create offense for himself. That's important. I get it.
Yep.
However, the team is the worst defensive team. They go on 0 runs because they have no cohesiveness. They're finally doing that. They're finally on the receiving acknowledgement section of Bubble Talk at 13-10 in the Big Ten. So
electric in the air.
They honestly have a chance still to make March Madness. They're not out of the season's not over. They have everything to fight for. And that will fuel me even more if they don't make it. And I will gladly rescind it if we make it. Because I like Jett. I guess I'll say it again. But I don't dislike Jett. But our team's not good enough. He's been getting praise just because he's scoring a few points. I remember a Piston named Ben Gordon who scored 25 plus points a game, and he had no other stats. Look up Ben Gordon's stats when he played with the Pistons, and the dude was a scoring machine and just did nothing else, and the Pistons sucked during that era. I'm not questioning that Ben Gordon was a great scorer, and I'm not questioning that Jett Howard is a great scorer. But when you can't do anything else, and he doesn't rebound, he doesn't steal, he doesn't put pressure on anybody, and we don't have guys on the team that do it for him. These great teams have guys who can score, and they might be specialists, like Trae Young when he was in college. But Trae Young passed actually really well, too. This Michigan team, it doesn't have guys that can fill the void for Jett. And so I don't want to just give Jett a pass. He's 6'8", and he's quick, and he's fast. He has no reason not to be a good defender. And he's not. And I chalk that up. I don't know. It's crazy to me that he can't fill any other stat. I'll let you, Brand, and then I'll answer.
So the Ben Gordon comp is making me
fantastic.
Giggle because do you know what Ben Gordon did when he played college basketball? He won a national title for the UConn Huskies. And it's my whole thing is I think that you have your priorities out of whack.
I did not say Ben Gordon College, though. I compared him to Ben Gordon Pistons.
Right. But my point is, even in the NBA, if you want to go that route, you have guys who have roles on their team. And there will be guys whose job is to literally just jack threes. And their stats are usually going to be maybe 16 or 17 points, maybe 1 or 2 rebounds, and maybe 1 assist if they do a pump fake and then hit a guy, crashing. But they're not going to fill the stat sheet because that's their role. I agree that Jett Howard should be a better defender. He should probably be more involved in the other aspects of the stat sheet. But you have guys who are not true freshmen. You have guys who are juniors that have 3 years of college basketball experience that are not just not contributing in the points column like Jett is. They're not contributing in the rebounds, assists, or steals or blocks categories that Jett doesn't.
I will stop you there. My priorities aren't wrong because those guys are for sure the problem, and I voiced that. But no one's calling out Jett, and he doesn't get a pass from me because he's not helping this team on the areas where we're lacking. He's helping on putting up some points.
He's doing what his strength is.
Well, I'm calling out his weaknesses, and I'm calling out his strength too. I'm saying he's a great scorer. But this team has holes, and he's part of those holes. And to say, well, he's a good scorer, so he gets a pass, that seems weak to me. It seems like an NBA mentality.
What I'm saying is you are focusing on like problem D when A, B, and C, which are way bigger problems. If you're in a boat and it's got some holes, you patch the biggest holes first. Worry about those. And then the little tiny hole, you can put some spackle on it.
Just because I'm saying this does not mean it's the biggest problem. I've said that already in this talk.
I know, but you had said that you are looking forward to the team next year without Jett Howard. That is
I didn't say that in this debate. That is not part of this debate. So
well, this debate is going back multiple,
so we're just
tweets
pulling
and pods.
I
So
didn't tweet that.
As a mediator, real quick, Travis, what is your main focal point? Succinct, like 2 sentences, maybe 3.
Jett's not the main problem, but he's a problem. And he doesn't get a pass because he can score. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
So
Well, that's not a very strong position.
That's a super strong position.
Everyone's going to say that
no one on Twitter is giving Jett a hard time. Everyone is grabbing his butt saying, I couldn't say what I wanted to say. Because we're live here and I can't edit out now. Everyone is just...
What a bummer.
All praise.
You'll never know what was going to come out of his mouth.
I think we can infer. And I don't like... It's part of the problem because this team isn't a complete team because of that. And yes, if he was on a different team, it wouldn't be a problem. You're right, Brandon, that the other holes are much more... T won't. He is horrible. But let's just go through the roster, and you will hit a bunch of issues ahead of Jett. But just because of that, I don't like seeing people just praising Jett and not calling out that there is an issue. The offense scores on him constantly. He doesn't rebound. He's 6'8". There's things that aren't hard when you're 6'8" and a guard. You can get a rebound or 2 or 3. And he's not. And that would help the team tremendously.
Yes. If Jett Howard could literally do everything, it would help the team. Right now, I just don't think that is in his game yet. In a year or two, I think he probably does improve defensively. He probably crashes the boards a little bit better. And he might be a better stat stuffer in that sense. But as a true freshman, just the fact that he's playing at the level he is, I'm inclined to give him a little grace when I've got guys ahead of him who have years of experience and they're not doing anything. To give an example, in Michigan football, towards the second half of the season before Ohio State, the offense really slowed down, especially, we had the horrible Blake Corum injury against Illinois. And there was a stretch of about 3 or 4 games in a row where J.J. McCarthy completed less than 50% of his passes. It was really dark. During that time, I don't think the majority of majority of attacks against the team, like the complaints, were against J.J. McCarthy. They were more on the play calling, the horrible wide receivers. You could probably help fill in some more blanks there. J.J. McCarthy got a lot of grace because he was our first-year starter that everyone loved. And it would be completely accurate to say that he was deficient in his passing during that stretch. And it would be fair. But I also think there's a reason that he didn't get a lot of guff for that. And the reason was there was bigger issues at play. The play calling stunk. The wide receivers did stink. And it just seemed like that the majority of the problem really wasn't his fault. Like he's a wheel in the cog in the gear.
Yeah, because it's a team. So there's 5 cogs, and there's a cog that's not playing defense or rebounding. And this team doesn't turn the ball over. They are one of the best offensively, their efficiency is insanely high. And I saw a chart that shows minute turnovers to buckets scored or something, and the top teams in the top quadrant are supposed to be really good teams, Michigan was there. There's like the guy doing the video said, the teams up here are often very good teams. Michigan was there. So that tells me, what are Michigan's deficiencies as a team? Where are they struggling? And yes, there's offensive ones. 3-point shooting is rough, and Jett does that well often. He's not right now, but I'm not even talking about that. The biggest deficiencies are defense, hustle, and rebounding. There's a lot of issues there that if we just did those things, there's a lot of games we would have won. So yes, we're scoring okay and pretty good, and I love that, and that's his role. But if he would have done these things, we would have beat. There's how many games this year, if you go through our schedule, did we lose by just a few at the end? We played some good teams that we should have won at the end, but just a few little things, a little hustle plays, a rebound, a steal, a block, things that Jett Howard in position could do, or just getting out on a guy, shooting a three, being in the right position. And I know defense is hard to learn, so I get that. I'm open to him being a freshman and learning that, but it's definitely a deficiency. And if he did better at it, I think we win 3-4 more games this year, maybe 5.
Sure, but my point being, you talked about rebounding and defense. I think there's maybe 1+ defender on the team. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the team's a bad defensive team.
Okay. I think there's 1+ rebounder on the team.
There should be a much more. Kobe Buffkin and Hunter Dickinson and Jett Howard.
Hunter Dickinson is not a good rebounder.
That's what I'm saying. Should be. We can shift this debate to those guys if you'd like to.
My point is that I think that the blame is being centered on one player when there are 4 guys who are deficient at rebounding. There are 4 guys who are deficient defensively, and any other category you really want to talk about, there's really only one guy I think that is a plus in that. When Ant Wright posts the plus minus for the games, there's one guy that's usually at the very top. It's Kobe Buffkin, and Jace Howard is right there.
So let me ask you that: why is Kobe Buffkin always that plus minus positive guy?
Because he is doing the things that no one else is doing, and that's why he's our favorite player.
Yep.
However, what I'm saying is Jett is also a plus player. When you look at that graph, he is coming out in the green, and pretty much the rest of the team, a lot of the time, unless Hunter has a good game, and even on some of Hunter's good games, he still comes out not as good as you would think because he doesn't do those small things. But Jett is coming out at the top, right by Kobe Buffkin a lot of the time because of his offensive game. And that is necessary. I know that the other more gutsy stuff that he doesn't bring is what we blue-collar folk cling to. But you got to score points to win games.
But I think I agree. But you got to play defense, and you got to close out on shooters to win games too, especially in college, where college is not the NBA. And this is a gripe I have more with Coach Howard, not Jett, is he coaches. It feels like he's trying to make Michigan an NBA team, and maybe in the future college basketball is shifting that way. But it's a different style for sure. Where some of these like look at Purdue. They're the number 1 team by far this year, and their style is very college basketball, not NBA. Michigan's built very much like Purdue. They've got a tall center, quick guards, guys who can shoot, but Purdue, the hustle, the defense, they do all the little things really well on top of the talent they have. So, yeah, you're right, Brand. I've been extra hard on Jett. I know he's a freshman, and defense is a learned thing, but I think it's that. I think it was a comment by Spencer in our chat that the rebounds, some of the things like that, feel like they're effort issues, not talent issues. And when that's lacking, I feel like that's something when you watch this team, there is some of that kind of lacking effort. It's one of the reasons Doug McDaniel is becoming one of my favorite players, is because he seems to have that effort. He dives. He gets energetic with the crowd. He wants to be out there. He's engaged every play. Now, he's not as good as Jett defensively or offensively, but there's times on the court where you can see that effort takes place. Now, the same could be said for Cheddar. Cheddar's stats, if you compare him to the guys, the 7, 8, 9 guys, his stats look the same. And so if you just look at stats, you go, okay, it makes sense this guy's not getting that many minutes. But then when you watch, you go, well, it feels like and it looks like Cheddar deserves more minutes. Now, why is that? Why does it feel like Cheddar needs more minutes?
Because the guy ahead of him is T. Will.
Besides
T. Will
that,
sucks.
from what you're seeing from Cheddar.
Well, yeah, because he's willing to do the dirty stuff. He's not necessarily super productive on the stat sheet, but you can see the effort. I want to go back to Jett. I think that a reason his rebounds and all those stats are a little bit lower is not necessarily an effort as much as I think it's probably load management, where he is prioritizing his energy levels for the offensive side of the ball. I truly do not think he is at a great conditioning level.
That's
yet
bonkers to me, bro.
Look at him. Look at his body. He's not ripped. There's a reason he's wearing a short sleeve t-shirt under his jersey.
I know, but Kobe Buffkin are do-it-all guys playing 35 to 38 minutes a game.
Yeah, but Kobe Buffkin wasn't doing that as a true freshman, and he didn't look like he does now as a true freshman.
I think he does it now because he's needed to do it now, because without him out
Kobe
there, our
Buffkin
second team is garbage.
Is physically, his conditioning is elite now. If you look at Kobe Buffkin, he's rocked up.
How do you play so much basketball and not... Cody, you play intramural basketball now.
Mm-hmm.
Could you go the whole game?
I could. Yeah.
I know you're not playing at D1 level. I know you're not playing against 6'8",
That's true.
250.
That's true. It's not even
pushing
close
you down.
to what we're doing.
So I get that.
I
This might
answered
not
that
work.
so confidently, like, yeah, I could do it. I feel like stamina is the one thing I can do. Everything else is just like, no.
You used to not be able to say this, but these guys are getting paid to do this. And you can't, it's a 40-minute game with TV timeouts every 4 minutes, coaching timeouts, but scattered in between, a halftime, and you're telling me you can't go 30 minutes?
That's the part I can't understand, because I know, again, rec league compared to D1 college. My first game back...
And this is video now. They can see me complaining about these guys not going 30 minutes, knowing full well this guy's not going 5 without puking on the court. But I'm not getting paid to do it.
What I do know is back in high school, when that was my life, that was what really mattered to me, was just whatever sport I was in, I gave 110%. You couldn't necessarily call me good, but you couldn't tell me that I didn't give my all. That was like my thing. And I was a high schooler. I didn't even work out. We didn't have like a strength and conditioning program, but I could go that full game. And when I was a senior, I wasn't getting taken out of those games unless I was playing really bad. Sometimes that might happen. But even now, and I know it's rec league, that first game back, I was a little bit winded, but it was starting to come back to me. And now it's just I don't want people subbing for me because I want to be in that game the entire time. So you're telling me if you're a D1 college athlete, this is your life. You have coaches that coach you up on how to be in the best shape you could possibly be, that you still are not able to play that full game. That will never make sense to me.
It's only 30 games a year.
Look at Zach Edey. The guy used to play about 10 to 12 minutes a game. Now he's playing 30, and you can see the year-over-year development that the work he's put in. Now he can do it. I'm telling you, looking at Jett, he does not look to be in the top physical condition that he could be in.
Whose fault is that?
1 to 2 years, I don't know.
Whose fault is that?
He's
Jett's.
18 years old.
It's Jett's fault.
Not every 18-year-old is going to be a physical specimen right away. He's not a full
Division One, a Division I athlete playing guard at a Big Ten school should be at that physical. If we're complaining about a Division I athlete saying he's just not fit enough, then you know what? Don't go be a Division I athlete. That's ridiculous.
I think you're overlooking the fact that most freshmen are not playing the minutes he is.
Boy, it must
I'm
be
saying,
hard being a freshman.
Yes, physically.
It's not.
There's
You
a
look-
huge difference between.
He's been playing
18
AAU basketball since he was 12. He's been playing full games since he was 12. And you're telling me he
Yes,
can't
and
go
there is
30
a massive
minutes?
difference.
Yeah, but it's running. That's not the difference. Yeah, I know defense is a difference and there's a hustle there.
Yeah.
But man, I don't buy it. I get it that you can improve your conditioning, but if you're 18, 19 and you can't go 30 minutes, then that's on you, boy. That's on you, bro. That's
I think I'm not saying that he's out there sucking gas. I'm saying that he is not at the level yet that he will be in a year or two. I mean, once he's 21 years old and fully physically developed, he's going to be a different player, and he's probably going to be a more present defender, more active rebounder, maybe going to be more active with the assists and all that. But right now, he's floating around the perimeter, taking 3-pointers, and I think that there's a active preservation of energy.
Yeah, on offense too. So he should have plenty of
we use
energy
Cody
on defense.
We use Cody as the example. So I think in this example, Cody being the grinder, he's kind of like a Will Cheddar. We love Will Cheddar. We've been calling for more minutes for Will Cheddar, right? I'm saying I would rather have Jett Howard. Jett Howard is more important to this team. And yes, he has deficiencies, but I'm not just going to...
Screw you, Bran.
Cody, I would love to be Will Cheddar. Right now, if I'm anybody, I'm maybe one of the, I don't know, floor cleaners. You're Will Cheddar in this comparison. And I'm the floor cleaner that wasn't paying attention, and they're on a fast break, and I got to get out of there, and I can't because I slipped in the sweat. I didn't clean up. My point being, I think that, yes, Jett Howard has deficiencies. I agree with all those, and I'd love to see him play better defense, be more involved in the other stats. But right now, he's at least doing one thing at an elite level for Michigan. They need it.
Yep.
And I'm going to give him some grace because he's doing something. When there are other guys on the team that you wonder,
so that's the thing, Brandon. I'll stop here.
What
we agree. The only thing we're not agreeing on is the grace. Where you're giving him grace on this, and I'm not.
How many negative things do you want to focus on at a time?
I'm not giving a pass. So are you just saying there's so many other negative things that he just gets a pass?
No,
you get to do whatever you want because everyone else sucks. So I'm not focused on you, and I'm not okay with that.
Can you tell this has been building for like weeks?
On literally,
I've been waiting for this topic.
If you focus on every negative aspect of the team, you will go insane. I think that one improvement at a time is what there should be a focus on. Okay, so we suck defensively right now as a team. Let's see some growth there. And all right, we are doing terrible with our boxing out, or say let's grow there. And one at a time, you build it, and all of a sudden you can focus on Jett. You're doing nothing but shoot threes. Let's grow there. And I'm saying on the laundry list of issues, that's way down the list. I can't focus on that many negatives at once, especially when its priority level is very low.
I would say that the deficiencies on the team on the defensive end are very high.
I know, but
that's why I'm calling it out, because he gets starter minutes, and he's a starter it has
that's
deficiencies.
That's a team issue.
Over there.
It's not just a Jett issue because you
I
have
100%
4 negative.
Agree. And if you look at my
players.
tweets, I have trashed all of them. So
and
the defense.
I'm saying, to give yourself some balance, let's throw some positivity. Like, hey, this guy is actually benefiting the team actively in the plus minus column. There is a statistic for your efficiency. It's plus. It's in the green
for the season.
He is a benefit to our team. Yes,
I'll agree. He's a benefit to the team, but he has deficiencies that are not.
That's what freshmen do, is they get better.
I agree. And I'm begging for that. If we're going to make the March Madness, he has to. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. But right
That's
now,
all I'm saying. What are we arguing about?
Well, I originally was arguing that your previous discussions on Jett, where there was a little bit too much hatred thrown his way, when going back to our Mo Wagner
We've
debate.
talked since then on Twitter, you and I, and you're just digging further just
All right.
to be
So
crappy.
If you want to put it to bed, just say you were wrong and that you would prefer to have Jett Howard on the team next year.
Yeah, I hope he's on the team if he can play defense and add to this team. And if this team is built around him. So if the deficiencies are filled, great. If not,
what if Hunter Dickinson is back?
Hunter's been frustrating me. If you want to get me on another rant.
Yes, please.
The energy Hunter has been showing lately, I just want guys who are going to play. I want guys who can score, obviously, and Jett can do that. But you got to be able to show that effort and that grit that wins you games. Putting up a 3 is not going to win you every game. If you hit enough of them, sure. But he doesn't, and the team doesn't. So you got to do those other things. Hunter does it every other game, every third game when he's feeling like it. You've called him out for that. And Jett feels like the same right now. So
I just asked because you said you want him back if the offense is centered around him. I've got a sneaking suspicion that Hunter's going to be back next year.
Okay, let me reword that then. Not necessarily centered around him, more so built around his deficiencies. So guys on the defensive end that Jett can be bad enough and the rest of the team is good enough to make up for that. And they're not right now. And we could spend the time talking about that, but it's been fun talking about Jett.
Well, I believe that if he was to come back next year, he would have a year in Camp Sanderson. He'd come back in better shape. We see that happen with pretty much every Michigan basketball player except Hunter Dickinson. And I think Jett would be in better shape. I think he would improve defensively, just, time on task. And with improved conditioning, I think he does contribute more. So I would love to have him back.
Let me clarify something,
He's going to be top 10 pick, most likely.
When I said about him leaving next year, I believe also in context, I was talking about the nepotism that bothers me and the coaching, like how Jace, it feels like Suns
No one wants Jace.
No one wants Jace. But it's just confusing too. Like, I don't feel like Juwan coaches Suns well. Like, I'd rather it was 4 or 5 stars that weren't his sons. 3 stars that weren't his sons. Sorry. Because
the 5 stars.
Okay, forget I said 5 stars.
Both 5 stars last year.
Forget I said 5 stars then. I just coaching his sons it looks bad. There's some things that like Jace should be getting 0 minutes on a Wright State team. He's not helping on the defense, and the offense is just some of the worst I've ever seen. We complained about Terrence Reed's. We complained about Reed's free throw percentage. Jace shoots 3s sometimes, and his free throw percentage, I think, is 37.5% right now. It's just, and that's the littlest of my complaints about his offense. His offense is just atrocious. So I feel like Jace and Jett, if you combine them, could be pretty good. Where my complaints with Jett are like the flip of Jace. But Jace is good or Jett's good are way more than Jace is good. Although Juwan told us that Jace was one of the best defenders on the team, so what's that tell you about the rest of the team, I think?
Yeah, I would like to see if Juwan still thinks that, because I think that he's been surpassed. But
that's impressive.
We're very close to
I'll take
each
it back,
here.
Bren. I will take it back.
All right.
So you don't bring it up anymore, because that's not what I went into this debate about. Yes.
No, I don't want there to be resolution here. I want this to be something that
this is the only resolution code.
Okay.
Is that Jett? It would be good if he came back. Historically, it's very good when they come back. That's easy to say because that's not what I came into this debate to even talk about. Brandon kept bringing it up, so I think
I brought it up because it came up on the pod previously, and I feel like there just seems to be more shade from you thrown towards Jett than I would say is average. So,
Well, the average is non-existent right now, so felt like I needed to
I am
balance
saying
the status
publicly,
quo.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily your job.
That's not my
He's not
job.
getting enough hate. Put enough hate out there.
Okay, well, should I never tweet about anyone who's sucking at what they do?
You're 100% welcome to do that. What I'm saying is, my whole angle was it just felt like you had more anger towards Jett than you did the other parts of the deficient team.
Not true.
We are in agreement of what the deficiencies are, that they exist, that they are important to improve. I just didn't want to be so negative when he was actually doing something really good that the team needs. And I mentioned those 5 stars. When you think about what Moussa Diabate and Caleb Houston did last year, isn't Jett like way better than them? Like just the comparison game. Like this guy is probably, well, definitely our second leading scorer, but he is a crucial part of the team as a true freshman. I am very glad he's on the team. And yes, he's not a perfect player yet. And hopefully, as the season ends, he will improve.
I would like to point out, too, that I wasn't any extra critical on Jett than I was on anyone else. The reason this became a debate was because people got really butthurt that I took any shots at Jett. So I've been an honest, even call it as I see it with this Michigan team, and no one crapped on me when I talked about anyone else, but when I called out things I didn't like about Jett's game, how dare you touch our golden child? So I think this is on you, Brand, not me. You're the one with the problems.
I'm looking at your tweets.
Yeah, please do. I was pretty proud of them, so call them up. Let's do this.
Pretty much only about Will Cheddar's playing time, Jace Howard's awfulness, and
I thought you were reading the Jett Howard tweets. I didn't know you were.
Well,
just
I'm trying to find where
I was tweeting about.
I'm not seeing where you got attacked.
You. It was you.
I was just. What are you talking about?
And I'm not saying attacked. I loved that Twitter interaction. I thought it was fun, but you're the only one that was complaining about me talking Jett.
What did I say? Oh, I know what you're talking about. When I said the Ferrari thing.
Yep. You didn't like it.
Yeah, read that for us if you would, because I kind of mentioned that earlier and then didn't really.
I gotta try to find
it
now. It's down there a ways. Will Cheddar,
how long did you guys talk about
Will
this?
Cheddar.
Not that much. Good old dead air time while we wait.
Well, it doesn't have to be. There's one question that is burning on the people's minds. One person in particular. Jordan Parks is wondering, what are your guys' thoughts on Mr. Mime?
I hate him.
Travis,
I wish that Mr. Mime
would
die.
That seems a bit extreme. Seems like we've kind of flip-flopped here a
Mr.
bit.
Mime brings a lot of good to the Pokemon world, Brand.
Like what?
The hate here, wow. There are other Pokemon you could hate on a lot more than Mr. Mime.
Name one good thing that Mr. Mime brings.
What does Mr. Mime say?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's a mime. He doesn't say anything stupid. So he's got that covered. He's silent and doesn't say anything stupid. That's good. Also, I'm just twisting this because you're being negative on Mr. Mime. So if that wasn't obvious,
No.
I have no opinion on Mr. Mime being good or bad.
I will
Mime
say
is bad.
I will say in one of the latest Pokemon games where you can see Pokemon in the overworld, I saw a video that shows that Mr. Mime will troll you sometimes if you're trying to catch a Pokemon and he's nearby. He will step between you and the Pokemon and put up force fields and block you from being able to catch Pokemon. Take that as a negative or a positive. I think it's hilarious, but I think that was something that changed my perspective at least a tiny bit, because in my opinion, the closer a Pokemon resembles a person, the more uncomfortable I am with that Pokemon, with like maybe a few exceptions. But yeah, Mr. Mime would typically be one of those that I would label in the very creepy category. Second, definitely to Jinx.
I think, Bran, I think we wrap it up here.
See, I will not read the Twitter interaction because it is quite long. But you should, if you're interested, you should find it. It's a good one. All I said was when you crapped on Jett Howard for being a scorer but nothing else, I just said I was waiting for this with the laugh cry emoji. So I was not attacking you. I just knew watching that game, seeing plays, I'm like, oh, Travis is seething right now. I just know it. And then I see the Twitter, I was like, oh, it was cracking
Bran,
me up. That's all.
You said attacking things like, I was waiting for this. That's fair. I can't find anything else. It wasn't attacking. We were just debating it. Just like, I mean, that honestly probably led to this debate that we're having now. So,
well, I responded, then Travis proceeded to respond 3 times in a row, and that's when I knew it was my time to peace out. So,
I think that just means I was onto something, and you had nothing to say.
There was just a lot there.
I will clarify, I'm not a Jett hater at all. I'm not a Jett hater. I hate the effort on the defensive end and on the rebounds and on the boards, but
You're
I
not
don't
a
hate
Jett hater anymore.
No, I wasn't a Jett hater when I tweeted that. I hate seeing a blank end of a stat sheet. I hate that. That does not mean I hate Jett. And I agreed that I think he's a good scorer, and that is important. I hope he comes back. I hope he continues to improve.
You're not a hater. Welcome to the family.
Really great. We'll leave you with this one last thought. There's one question we haven't got to answer just yet that we were seeing really one of you wanted to have answered. What would we say? What would you guys say to a Detroit Lions fan, or maybe former Detroit Lions fan, who got engaged at a Detroit Lions game and has been a Detroit Lions hater for the past few years?
What I would say is that that your love is bonded like a Lions fandom, in that even through the hard times in my life, I've never experienced a Lions playoff win. I've never seen the Lions win the NFC North. And yet I still am there for them, and I care about them, and I want them to succeed and be happy. And just like that, where you pronounce your love for your wife at Ford Field, that you will have that same love in your heart through the good and the bad, and that it's only up from here. And even in this upcoming year, it's gonna be just beautiful.
If it makes you feel any better, Trav, I think our producer and I are the only ones in the chat right now. Brian, very beautiful. I would say as well, the fact that this guy got engaged at a Lions game tells me that the love and the passion runs deep for this organization. But you're in a lot of pain right now. You're hurting. This team has done you dirty. And I can relate to that, being a former Nebraska fan, probably jumping back on that bandwagon, the band rule wagon this coming season. I understand the pain that you're coming from, but what I have to say is the victory is never quite as sweet if you jump on at the last minute. You got to ride with your team through the highs and the lows. And right now, this team is kind of looking like it's surging. This is the time to get back in the game. I can't promise you that this is going to be any different this next season, but I can't tell you that they're going to be the same old Lions either. This team is surging. This team has got a lot of magic firing in a lot of places on the coaching staff and from really lovable and talented players. It's the best time to get back in right now. That's anything else to share, Trev?
I think it's time to renew those vows.
I think it is. I think it's time, buddy. Come back home to Detroit. Come back to the Lions. They miss you. Toodles.